Hey guys, and welcome back to another Steven Universe reaction video. My name is Jose. This is the third fucking time that I'm trying to record this because I kept messing up the two previous times. But anyways, this is the 100th episode of Steven Universe, the episode that we've all been waiting for, titled Bismuth. And yes, the gem that we first saw back in season 1 in, what was it? Lion 3, straight to video. I think that's what was it. That's where we saw, I think, that gem, that mysterious gem bubbled in Lion's mane. We finally get to see who she is. I mean, granted, we saw her in the promos, but still we got to see the full episode. And this was a half-hour-long special. And it lived up to the hype. I gotta say, it was so emotional. It was action-packed. It was full of backstory and information. Bismuth explained to us that bismuths were created to be builders. You know, all the structures that we've seen throughout the series were all built by bismuths. But when the rebellion started, Rose explained to Bismuth that she could be anything that she wanted. So she became a blacksmith, which I kind of know that's what she was by the way that she was designed. She created weapons for all of the rebellion during the war. And Bismuth's character is just so amazing. I mean, it has so much character and personality, and it's such a complicated character. And the complicated part comes later on in the episode. But Steven accidentally pops Bismuth's bubble while in Lion's mane. And Pearl and Garnet are just in shock and awe that their long lost comrade or friend has suddenly come back just out of nowhere. They think, or they thought, that she had been abducted or possibly shattered. And I can see how, being gone for thousands of years with just out of nowhere, thinking, your friends thinking in the worst possible situations, I can see that. But yeah, so she is a blacksmith. We got to see her workshop, and we got to see how her gem functions. And it functions sort of like a miniature furnace, which I think is pretty awesome and unique. Actually gives her gem a function and not just more of a aesthetic feel to it. I'm not trying to insult the other gems, but I'm just saying that Bismuth's gem is actually pretty unique in the shape and the function too. But anyways, so she is a blacksmith. Her room is underground, surrounded by lava, appropriately, being how she works with heat, and all that stuff. And she actually gave upgrades to all the gems, well, except for Steven. Pearl's spear was turned into a trident. She gave sort of like these jeweled knuckles or brass knuckles to Garnet, backlit extra punch. And to Amethyst, she had a little miniature sort of spiked balls, kind of like we saw with Steven's bubble, to her whips, and which I think it was pretty awesome and really nice of her to give them all upgrades. So a little time passes by, and Steven and Bismuth are, talking and stuff like that. They're talking about her mother's sword, Rose's sword. Bismuth is also explaining how she was working on a weapon that could have changed the whole war. They go back to her workshop, and Bismuth reveals that the weapon that she was working on was able to shatter gems in the blink of an eye. And to Steven's dismay, he was pretty shocked by it. To think that a crystal gem would go so far as doing the same thing as the homeworld gems were doing, shattering gems, which I think is worse than possibly dying, because if gems are shattered, their entities are still in those shards, and if those shards are separated, then they can never feel whole again. Pretty much like the cluster who wanted to be whole. Sorry, but Stevens just couldn't accept the fact that Bismuth actually created a weapon like this. Bismuth gets upset. She starts to think that Steven is Rose, only in a different form, pretty much like Jasper. And I get that, because Bismuth's been bubbled, for thousands of years. Pretty much how like Jasper's been gone for thousands of years, only to come back and find out that Rose is now a different form. And it ends up they both end up having a pretty sweet fight. And I don't know what about this week of episodes, or this Summer of Steven, is having Steven almost die in fights against other gems. But what the fuck, Crewniverse? You don't try to kill the cinnamon bun, alright? You just don't. And it was just so amazing, And it ends off in a standstill. Bismuth grabbing the breaking point, is what she called it, and almost shattering Steven. And at that point, I almost had a miniature heart attack, because I thought that Steven was gone. But the Crewniverse wouldn't do that. They wouldn't kill off the main character. I mean, the show is named after him, for fuck's sakes. But it ends up in a standstill, with Steven reaching for Rose's sword and piercing it through Bismuth's physical form. And it's just so much emotion during that moment. Bismuth saying that she should have been shattered back then, that if she was shattered back then, she wouldn't have to find out that her friends had been lied to about what actually happened, which was pretty much the same scenario where Rose bubbled Bismuth because Rose didn't agree on her motives or her actions to try and win the war at any cost. And that's pretty much what happened. Bismuth gets poofed, and Steven bubbles her, and they both go back to the house, and Steven explains to them everything that actually happened back then. And I gotta say, this episode is actually probably my top 5 episodes of Steven Universe, because it was just so much going on that it was just amazing. And yeah, it was just amazing. That's all I have for today's episode, and I will see you guys in the next one.